We're now going to look at equivalent fractions. When two fractions are equivalent, this means they have exactly the same value. In order to find an equivalent fraction, you multiply the numerator and the denominator of the given fraction by the same value. So if you take a look at this example here, it says find two fractions which are equivalent to 1/2. So this is our given fraction. So I've written the given fraction down, and then I've drawn a diagram such that the given fraction represents the part that's shaded. So half of this diagram is shaded. Now, I'm going to turn a half into an equivalent fraction. So in order to do that, I have to multiply the denominator and the numerator by the same number or the same value. So let's say I pick 2. Let's multiply the denominator by 2, and let's do exactly the same thing to the numerator. Let's multiply it by 2 as well. Now, if we do that, we're going to get 1 multiplied by 2 is going to give us 2, and that's going to be over 2 multiplied by 2 is going to give us 4. So 2 over 4 is an equivalent fraction to 1/2 because we multiplied the numerator and the denominator of the given fraction by the same number, and we've got 2/4. Now, the diagram that I have over here illustrates the fraction 2/4 because 2/4 means 2 out of 4 parts are shaded. So you can clearly see here there are 2 parts out of the 4 that are shaded. Now, if you look at the two diagrams overall, the bit that is shaded is exactly the same in each diagram. So 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent fractions. They have exactly the same value. Okay, let's look at another illustration again. We have our given fraction 1/2, and we've illustrated it with our diagram where half of the diagram is shaded. And we're going to turn a half into another equivalent fraction. So in order to do that, we have to multiply the denominator and the numerator by exactly the same value. So this time I'm going to pick 3. So we're going to multiply the denominator by 3. And we're going to multiply the numerator by 3. So multiply numerator by 3. 1 multiplied by 3 is going to give us 3. And that's all over. 2 multiplied by 3 is going to give us 6. So 1/2 and 3/6 are equivalent fractions. In other words, they have exactly the same value. And again, the diagrams show that because in this second diagram here, we have 3 parts out of a total of 6 that are shaded. So this diagram represents the fraction 3/6, and this diagram here represents the fraction 1/2. And you can see again that the total area that's shaded is exactly the same in each diagram. Okay, let's look at a few examples now. So it says, write each fraction below as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 36. So let's look at part A. We've got 5/12. So part A, we're going to write down our fraction 5/12. This is our given fraction. And we want to turn it into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 36. So across to the right, I'm going to write down the equivalent fraction. And the denominator of the equivalent fraction has to be 36. Now, in order to turn 5/12 into an equivalent fraction, we have to multiply the denominator and the numerator by exactly the same number or same value. So start with the denominator here. So you ask yourself, what must I multiply 12 by to get 36? Well, you're going to have to multiply by 3. So whatever you multiply the denominator by, you have to do the same to the numerator. We'll have to multiply it by 3. So 5 multiplied by 3 is just going to give us 15. So our final answer is 15 over 36. So we have found another fraction that has exactly the same value as 5/12. Now, to prove that you're right, you could actually cancel 15 over 36. Remember, we've said to cancel fractions. So if you were to cancel this fraction here, you would find that if you did it properly, you would get 5 over 12. But we're not going to cancel fractions here in this exercise because we're finding equivalent fractions. Okay, part B. We have 3/4 and we want to write it as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 36. So again, over to the right, we'll put the equivalent fraction down and its denominator is 36. Again, start with the denominator because you know the denominator of the equivalent fraction. So you ask yourself, what must we multiply 4 by to get 36? Well, we're going to have to multiply it by 9. So whatever we multiply the denominator by, we have to do exactly the same thing to the numerator. So 3 multiplied by 9, well, that's going to give us 27. So again, we've found an equivalent fraction to 3/4. So our answer in part B is 27 over 36. Okay, part C, we have 2/9. We want to turn it into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 36. So write our equivalent fraction down with a denominator of 36. And again, start with the denominator 9 here because you know the denominator of the equivalent fraction. So you have to multiply 9 by a certain number to get 36. And that is going to be 4. And whatever you multiply the denominator by, you must multiply the numerator by the same value. So we multiply the numerator by 4. So 2 multiplied by 4 is going to give us 8. So our answer there is 8 over 36. Okay, part D. We have 1/6 and we want to turn it into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 36. So put our equivalent fraction down with our denominator of 36. So again, to change a given fraction into an equivalent fraction, you must multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same value or the same number. So start with the denominators again because you know both of them. So ask yourself, what do we multiply 6 by to get 36? Well, it has to be 6. So we therefore have to multiply the numerator by exactly the same number. So 1 multiplied by 6 is just going to give us 6. So the equivalent fraction is 6 over 36. Example E. Again, we've got 5 over 18 and we want to change it into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 36. So again, start with 18 here. So what must we multiply 18 by to get 36? Well, we'll have to multiply it by 2. So for consistency, we have to do exactly the same thing to the numerator. We have to multiply it by 2. So 5 multiplied by 2 will give us 10. So our equivalent fraction is 10 over 36. In other words, 10 over 36 and 5 over 18 are exactly the same value. Even though they look different, they have exactly the same value. So our final answer is 10 over 36.